In Trinidad, we have a program called GATE. It stands for Government Assistance for Tuition Expenses. It's designed to help people pay for university education. It looks at your household income, and then from there it will pay either 50 or 70% of your entire tuition. If I were to use this program, I will be able to attend one of the best universities in the Caribbean, the University of the West Indies. The qualifications here are recognized internationally. Growing up with this knowledge, when I heard the price of what it costs to go to school in the US, I was amazed. Why is it so expensive? Why are people going into so much debt to pay for it? And is there some alternative? Before I continue, I would just like to thank all of you all for this and for this. These are the encouraging comments to keep going. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's continue. School is a place for education, for learning and bettering ourselves, and it's a universal right for everyone. But when it comes to university, it is not the same. Going to university is not a universal right. It is more like a commodity. That is the easiest way to understand why the prices keep going up. It's because it is part of the marketplace, where supply and demand dictates prices. And they may hold the key to fix the problem. But before we go there, we need to look at why is there demand for it in the first place? Why was it started? University or higher education is there to heighten and expand your knowledge and understanding in a specific field. This type of training has always been around. There's not really a definite starting point for it. However, the first iteration of what university looks like for us today was the University of Bologna, founded in 1088. It centered around teaching Roman civil law. So basically, the first university graduates were lawyers. As other universities started to pop up, more subjects were covered, like theology, law, medicine, and the liberal arts. What was the point of going to these physical places? It wasn't strictly for financial purposes. Those who would have attended would have had a deep interest in what they were studying. Those like Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, and Albert Einstein. Of course, there was the prestige that was attached to it. But for those entering into the field, the subject was more important, because even back then, they would have to pay for it. The manner in which it was paid for was either you came from a wealthy family, or your family pooled their entire resources, or you work and put yourself through the process. As of 60 years ago, you could have lived at home with your parents, have a summer job or even a part-time one, and you would have been able to cover your tuition expenses for your entire university education. So what changed? 60 years ago, we were in the Cold War. The US wanted to ensure its competitive edge, thus it started to offer federal student loans. Instead of someone saving up all the money in order to attend, it could now be covered all at once. Why do this? Because by educating as much people as possible, you are ensuring that the best and the brightest are fighting on your side. But this push for loans started to change American culture, because naturally people jump at the opportunity. Why? Because those with a higher education was more likely to find a job easier. Plus, paying back a loan that would have cost on average around $1,300 would have been easy. Considering that the government was also subsidizing it, these loans would have been taken out without a second thought. But slowly, over time, for a variety of reasons, the government started to take away some of these subsidies, pushing the burden of education onto the individuals themselves. Remember, this is not a universal right. One of the consequences of taking away those subsidies was that it disadvantaged some people, like minorities and poor persons, as banks were not always willing to lend money to these individuals due to their status. So, to fix this problem, in 1965, the Higher Education Act was passed. The purpose of the act was to ensure that anyone would be able to access the finances to attend college. This had really good intentions, but it started a problem that spiraled out of control. How could ensuring that everyone's education is being paid for be a problem? By allowing everyone unlimited access to money to pay for a product, it will naturally push up the price. For example, imagine that you have 5 houses and you put them on a market for $100,000 each. There's about 100 people willing to pay that price, all with loans on already. What is the best thing to do in a situation like that? Raise the price. You change it to $150,000. Now only 50 people are willing to buy the houses. So you change it again, $200,000. Now, there's only 20 people interested. You go to the best candidates and then choose the ones you want to sell your houses to. The same thing basically happened with university education. The main difference being there isn't a government policy to ensure that you get a loan for a house. As a lot more people were able to access loans to pay for their education, universities saw the demand and raised the price. The main reasons why they can do that is because there's lots of demand for the limited seatings that they have each year. Students are basically competing with each other with easy access to money. But why would they put themselves in such an expense in the first place? It is because the job market places greater emphasis on those with a university education. As much as we like to say money isn't the most important thing in life, we know how important it is, especially for those who are looking for a better future. Here are some other factors that affect the prices as well. Let's go back to our houses. In order for you to ensure that you get the best prices for them, you do some upgrades. You fix up the yard for an older couple. You add a jacuzzi for a younger one. A play area for those with children. When it comes to university, the cost of the facility and the subject that are being taught is not the only expense that you're paying for. You're also paying for gardeners, kitchen staff, administrative staff, marketers, security, and billing upkeep. And when you're taking out what is essentially free money to a young person, universities tries to go beyond the basics. Adding swimming pools, rock climbing arenas, gyms, basketball, football, tennis fields. By adding these facilities, you are ensuring that your university is attracting the most amount of students possible. And then you raise the price. Also consider this. The location and reputation of the area of where your houses are located gives you the ability to adjust your prices higher, even though you could get the same quality of house elsewhere for cheaper. Some colleges, just based on their name alone, can change their prices and few will complain about it. These are the main reasons why the prices are going up. There's easy access to money, high demands for it, universities looking for ways to attract the most students, and the prestigious ones can dictate any price. But all of this is just the start of the problem. Remember, these loans need to be paid back. One of the most interesting things about student loans in the US is that it is near impossible to declare bankruptcy on it, as it is seen as you have gotten the value from the money already. And this is fine for the almost 40% of people who graduate without debt, due to a combination of factors. Either they came from a wealthy family, their family had a fund set aside for them, they chose cheaper colleges, they had a scholarship, or they chose cheaper courses. But as for the rest who have to pay back these loans, it is a different story. Currently, there is $1.75 trillion of outstanding student loan debt. Divide that between the 43.5 million students who have these loans, and that's around $37,000 per person. Those numbers does not tell the whole story. For one thing, it's just an average. Some have more and some have less. These loans also have interest attached to them, so naturally that is not the final number. Some people may be able to find a job right away and start to pay it back. Some had to wait because they could not find a job that easy, increasing the bill even more. Eventually, they may be able to find a job in their field and be able to pay back the loan in full. But there's also a bigger issue. There are those with the loans but were not able to complete their university education. They still have the debt. They still have to pay back the loans with interest. Some reports suggest that this number could be somewhere between 38 to 42% of people who have student loans, but they never got a diploma. They are stuck in jobs, buried in debt, and it may be impossible to ever fully pay back with their current salaries. And remember, they cannot declare bankruptcy on it. But why would someone drop out knowing that they could possibly be strapped with this burden for the rest of their life? These are the reasons given. Financial pressure was ranked at 38%. What does that mean? Most loans cover tuition and boarding. Other things like food and traveling expenses may not be covered. Most people work during college, and the job that some are able to get barely cover their basic expenses. The second biggest factor is that they do not meet the requirements to continue their education. Other factors are they chose the wrong subject. Some have to travel a long distance. Some have physical health problems. Some have mental ones. Some have to support their families. They drop out understanding the risk of what they are doing, but their hands are tied due to their situations, fully comprehending that the weight of this loan is on their shoulders, with the knowledge that they may never be able to get a degree or job that will get them out of this pressure. So how do we fix it? It is not easy. If we simply pay back the loans that are outstanding, we fix the problem temporarily, as in a matter of time more students will go to school and you will be back with the same problem. If you make education free for all the students, who is going to pay for it? If you limit how much universities could charge, they will use it as an excuse for why things are being neglected. The best way to fix this problem is to remember that it is part of the marketplace. Supply and demand dictates prices. If the demand falls, the prices will as well. Will the demand for universities ever fall? Yes. Why do I say that? Because eventually there will come a point where they themselves price themselves out of the market. But what would most likely happen first is that companies will place less emphasis on university education. They understand that they still need to train their employees after they come in, and we could already see some companies doing this. In the tech world, once you show that you're capable of doing the job, you can get it without any university qualifications. And understand that people are starting to become hesitant of putting themselves in debt. Companies are now offering educational courses. Places like Google, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, Salesforce, and much more offer courses that can be placed on a resume, most of which is free. In addition to this, there are places that you can go where you can get a university level education for a cheaper price or even for free. Websites like Coursera or edX are becoming an invaluable source of education. The tide will turn someday. University, a place of higher education, will always be with us. What will change, however, is the structure of the current system, because that is how markets work. Thanks for watching.